I've worked as a graphic designer for over 2 decades. Been in the creative industry doing graphic design, and I specialize in the area of branding and identity design. I worked for small to medium to large scale companies. Today I want to talk about graphic design and why the graphic designer today makes very little in the tech industry. You see, graphic design is a tech job. And there's something out there that is called tech bro, tech sis. But you see that the graphic designer is not particularly accepted as a tech bro or a tech sis. Graphic design is not accepted as a tech job, but it is a tech job, one of the very early ones, but it's not accepted as that. Today I want to talk about the difference between the graphic designer and the tech bro. When I say tech bro, please forgive me. That's just I'm merging it with tech bro and tech sis. I just don't want to be saying and. So if you're a tech sis, please just forgive me. Tech bro, the graphic designer and the tech bro. Why the graphic designer makes very little money and the tech bro seems to be increasing in income. Right now, to be a tech bro, it's a very lucrative thing. When you hear that someone is a tech bro, you look at them as somebody who is on the up and up, have good earnings. A lot of tech bros earn 6-figure, some of them 7-figure monthly. But it's not the same with the graphic designer. You still have graphic designers that earn tens of thousands. I'm talking about low tens right now. 10,000, 15,000, 20,000. And what you see as a high-end designer is someone that earns between 500,000 to maximum of $1 million for a project. But how many graphic designers have projects that are in their millions? How many designers can boast of 7-figure projects? But there are tech bros that can boast of that. As a matter of fact, you find tech bros that will tell you, I can't take this job, just 500,000. I can't take it. It's ridiculous now. How can I be working for just 500,000? But tell the graphic designer 500,000 and it feels like if he has died and gone to heaven. 500,000? They are willing to sell their left arm. They are willing to roll on the floor for the client. That's a premium client for a graphic designer. Now, why is this so? It's not because graphic design is not an important skill, even though now it's being commonized as a skill. But even before it was commonized, it was not something that was very high earning. And this has to do with the seed. It's the seed. It's not the skill, it's the seed. The skill is incredible. It's incredible. It's creative. Just like somebody who calls himself a tech bro, a lot of them are programmers, developers. You understand? They're developing something, whether apps or websites or things like that. They're developers. You understand? They're creating, just like a graphic designer is also creating. It takes a lot of creativity to be a tech bro. It takes a lot of creativity to be a graphic designer. So it's not about the skill. This creativity would always sell, would always be desired. It's a high-end skill to be creative. It's the root. What is the root of graphic design? You see, I haven't worked paid employment a lot in my life. If you put all the years I worked paid employment since I graduated from university, I don't think they would be up to 2 years. You understand? Most of my life I've worked as an entrepreneur in the creative industry. Now, one of the few stints I had in paid employment, I worked for a media company. And on the day I was employed in that organization, there was also someone else employed with me. I was employed as the head of design, so because they were just setting up a um, a web department of that media industry. This was 2000 and 2007, 2008, I think, 2008. So web was a new thing in Nigeria. So they wanted to set up this web department, and they needed people who had a good understanding of web and design. So they hired a graphic designer and a programmer. So I was the graphic designer, and they hired another friend of mine who I met for the first time there the same day, a programmer. But working there for a number of months, I realized how different we were. We were both creatives. He was creative with codes. I was creative with pixels. So we worked together to develop the website. I worked on the front end, he worked on the back end. We spent a lot of time talking, and we formed a close friendship. But I realized that his mindset was different from mine. He always thought in high figures, and he was always discontent with how much we were being paid. I didn't think in figures at all. And I was only too happy that someone was paying me that much. But we're being paid the same salary. Same thing. But then he always should tell me, this money is too little. I really need to get out of this country. Man, I'm just doing this just for a while. I need to get out of here. And I was thinking, oh, they're actually paying me to do this thing. And then, we started talking about books we were reading, because we were both reading different things to allow us to apply ourselves to the job. So I used to tell him about design magazines I was reading just to get inspiration. And I'm like, oh, check out this cool font, check out this cool color, check out this cool transition, check out this. I used to order for a magazine called Computer Arts then. And then he shared with me what he was reading. And it was a book called Founders at Work. Now, this book made me realize why we were both thinking differently. I was looking at stuff by graphic designers, as in really cool stuff, not even knowing what they were charging for it, but I was just taken by the beauty. Oh, I want to be able to do this thing. He was reading a book with no photos at all, not really teaching you about coding, but telling you about startups, founders at work. I still have the book. It's a great book. I'll try to get the name of the author. Let me see. It's in my library right now. Founders at Work. All right. So here it is. Founders at Work is by a lady called Jessica Livingston. It's a great book, Founders at Work. Stories of startups' early days. So he talks about startups like Hotmail, like Firefox, like Flickr, like TiVo, like Tico, like Gmail, like Web TV, like Yahoo, like Craigslist, Blogger, all those things where they started from, Apple, Lotus. Talks about all their stories. It's a good book. And he was reading this book at this point in time. And I was looking at how people started in the tech industry as programmers and how they were changing the world. And I knew why he was so dissatisfied with his salary and what he was doing. He was one of the first tech bros I ever knew. And I was like, I need to get out of here. I need to get out of here and do something bigger. And that's why I want to talk about the seed of graphic design, and how it's something we need to uproot. Graphic designers say they want to make more money, we're not being paid enough. It's not the client, it is you. It is the seed. It's a seed. The seed is the spiritual hold. People might not want to hear this. What does spirituality have to do with professionalism? It does have a lot. The seed is the spiritual foundation. So we must look at the seed of graphic design in Nigeria. Let's not cast our net too wide. In Nigeria, and how it has affected the mentality of designers today. You see, I have a Telegram group, and there are about over 2,000 creatives, People, most of them are creatives. Most of them. I can boldly say 80% of my Telegram community made up of creatives. A lot of them graphic designers. A lot of them. And you see, it always concerns me when I see the graphic designer, and you think you have a community of over 2,000 people, and then you put up a product, a course, a book, whatever it is, and none of them will bite it. You won't bite it. They'll get no reaction. Immediately they see a fee to it. It costs so and so naira. It doesn't matter how much it costs. They are not biting it unless it is free. If it is free, you'll be beating them back with a stick. If it costs anything, cost 1,000 naira, you hear cricket sounds. That used to bother me. But then I realized it's not their fault. It's a prevailing mindset in the industry. A prevailing mindset. It's a stronghold on the graphic designer. And that's why graphic designers would hardly break through. They would not break through. They would struggle to make ends meet. They will always struggle. And it's not your fault. It's not about your skill. It's a seed. The seed is still producing fruit with the same seed. Don't you get it? It's a seed. And that's why the tech bro will continue to make money. Because they are eating of a seed, of a seed that produces good fruit, that is now producing further more of that good seed. The origin of graphic design. You see, a lot of people don't know that graphic design in Nigeria started with the print industry. It started in the print hub. Nobody was very aware about graphic design as a thing in the early days of production in Nigeria. Graphic design was not a celebrated thing. It was a byproduct of printing. People designed when they wanted to print, especially when the print press came to Nigeria, the print machine. Yeah, people had already been doing graphic design, stenciling and things like that, but it was more of the art. It was an artistic skill, so it was art. It became more of a tech skills when we started using machine to do it. And that's where I'm going back to. Not when it was art, when people had to cut stencil and draw. No. You understand? I'm talking about when it became graphic design, not art, not graphic arts. Graphic design. They are two different things. Now, graphic design, when we started using machines, it started with the printers. It was born in the print hub. In the print hub. So we had people that wanted to print out things, whether books, flyers, whatever it is, and they realized that they needed to make it attractive. It was the printer. People contacted a printer, never a graphic designer. It was a printer. To go to a printer, I want to publish a book. Go to a printer. It's a printer. The printer is the one who hires the graphic designer. The printer hires the graphic designer. So the commission is a print project. Graphic design is a subsection of that commission that is handled at the discretion of the printer. And then you see printers never budgeted for graphic design. They budgeted for print, for paper, for ink, for cutters, for staples, never for design. Never for design. And that's why you realize that a lot of printers in the early days would get very young boys who couldn't afford to go to school. Some of them would get their sons to come in after school and they get him to use the tools, the early design tools then. Some of the early tools then was paintbrush and Corel Draw, early Corel Draw. You understand? Most of these printers, a lot of them were not technology savvy. They just knew how to operate machines. And they were not interested in being technology savvy, using software and apps. They weren't interested in that, but they had these young boys. and they will have them just go and just play with this thing, use it. Now, those boys were young, they didn't know anything about money. A lot of them didn't. We came from families that couldn't take care of them. So the printers will have them work on designs for food, not for money, for food. Some of them will have these boys work on design for shelter, to have them in a place where they could sleep at night. Remember, a lot of these people came from houses that were low income. So you can sleep. You can sleep here. You can sleep here and I'll give you food. Hardly ever money. Hardly ever money. Some of them that got their children to do it never paid their children. You earn your school fees. You do it because I tell you to do it. I am your father. This is where graphic design was born in Nigeria, in the print hub, under very poor conditions. It was never planned for. It was never budgeted for. There was a lot of exploitation. People were exploited to do graphic design. And so these boys that worked on graphic design never saw it as something important. They saw it as something to be done for survival. It was a survival means. You did graphic design to survive, to eat for that day, to have somewhere to sleep. That's what you did it for. There was no ambition. It was daily survival. That is the seed. That's the seed. And you dare not go and tell the printer that you needed resources other than what it was giving you. So graphic designers then learned to be very innovative. They learned to get things for free. They learned to get things for free. They learned to get fonts for free. They learned to steal. Because you were not on the budget. So you had to find a way to make it work. I would have you know that some printers were very heavy-handed on their graphic designers. Some of them will physically beat them to get job done in record time. They were very young boys compared to they were threatened that if they didn't do it well, they will kick them out and get somebody else. Is it any different from what your client is telling you today? It's no different. It is no different, because that's the seed. That's the seed. How many people are into graphic design today because they can't find any other job and they need to eat? That's the seed. That's the seed. Is no different. Just that the software has been upgraded, but the mentality is still the same. The mentality is still the same. It has never been a booming industry. It has never been a lucrative industry. It has never been one that has built confidence. It is not that it is not valuable, and I can have you know that it is very valuable. In fact, the printers knew how valuable it was, because whenever they delivered jobs with good design, they got more pay from their clients. They realized it gave them a competitive edge when it came to competing for commissions with other printers. The ones that had better designers got more projects. But the designers never knew this. They never knew the value of what they were doing. Never. This is the seed of graphic design. This is why graphic designers today have a poor poverty mindset. This is why when I go to my Telegram group, even though they are in their thousands, you try to sell something they will never buy. Because the mindset is, can I get it for free? Can I get it for free? We get fonts for free. You see graphic designers, they crawl around the internet looking for free font websites, looking for apps and softwares that they can use to snatch fonts. So they take a screenshot of a particular logo and say, does anybody know what this font? Do you have an app so I can know this font and I can get it? Is it free? That's the first thing. There's still that mindset that there's no budget for me. I dare not go and ask for money. I dare not spend too much on this. It is not your fault. This is the seed. I'm telling you. It's the seed. It is the seed. That is the seed of graphic design. That is what is stopping graphic designers from making progress. I remember being on a graphic design community, WhatsApp community. And at that point, Chris Du had just written his book, Pocket Full of Dough, I think. And somebody, the day he released it, or the next day, put it up on the community. I said, I just got the book. You guys can download it now for free. That shocked me. For someone that had invested so much in the minds of creatives, wrote his book. Never before. I don't think he has any other book. Put a book out. And the graphic designers, the first thing they did was to think of how to exploit it. It's the seed. The seed is corrupt. The seed is corrupt. We need to dig out that seed. Because this is something the tech bro doesn't have. A corrupt seed. An impoverished seed. Ask anybody who is into tech right now. Tech is much younger than graphic design. And I'll say graphic design is also tech, but it's not accepted as tech because the mindset is different. Now, a lot of people that are into programming, who are developers, how did they get into it? A lot of people got into tech by virtue of the dot-com era, the dot-com boom. The dot-com boom started in, I think, in the 90s, whether in the mid-90s or late 90s. But people started building websites with .com. And before you know it, there was the startup mentality. This had not reached Nigeria then. But by the 2000s, things had started, the internet had started to grow and people had internet access. And they started to see what was being done outside. And then they realized that there was something called development, web development. And then started reading about people who were into web development. That's when people started reading about techies. That's when people started knowing about people like Bill Gates, Steve Jobs, Paul Graham. You see, that my friend who I worked with in this media company, he always used to tell me about someone, Paul Graham. Paul Graham. I just want to meet Paul Graham. I said, who is Paul Graham? I said, Paul Graham. He's a programmer. Paul Graham was his first influence. A lot of people in tech today, their first influence were people that had a different mindset, were people that believed in what they were doing and the financial value of what they were doing. A lot of people are into tech today. They're looking up to the founders of Google, looking up to the founders of Instagram, of WhatsApp, of Telegram. They're looking up to Mark Zuckerberg. That's the seed. That's the seed. So they're thinking in 7 figures. They're thinking of acquisition. They're thinking big. That's why when you tell the tech pro 500K, they're like, that is too low. 1 million, that is too low. The tech pro is not even thinking in naira. Tech pro is thinking in dollars. Because that's where the seed is rooted. It's rooted in a sense of independence and freedom. It's rooted in a sense of working at home with little or no supervision. It's rooted in a sense of breaking the rules and going against the norm. It's rooted in the sense of high reward. That's why it's lucrative. Figma is no better than Photoshop. No. We both use them in creating. Coding is no better than designing. No, no better. It's the seed, especially for us here in Nigeria. The seed has been corrupted. So if you're a graphic designer listening to me and you're saying, I want to do better as a graphic designer, first of all, you must go against what seems to be your natural intuition. You must always question your natural intuition, especially as it concerns investing in your skill. Your natural intuition will always tell you, why am I paying for this? I can get this for free. Immediately it starts telling you that, you go against it. Immediately it tells you, why should I pay? I can look for a free option. Know that the graphic design impoverished seed is kicking in, and it can only create impoverished fruit. That's the truth. One of the big lifesavers for me as a designer, while people were downloading free fonts, I was going to buy, was that I had the opportunity to travel to Canada. I traveled to Canada and it saved my life. Or else I would have been the same. I've told my story before. When I wanted to learn graphic design, the first place they told me to go was to Area 10, a place in Abuja, Print Hub. If you're in Lagos, you want to learn graphic design, tell you go to Shomolu. Before we had any of those design schools, it was Shomolu that people learn graphic design. Here is Area 10, UTC. And they're all over. Kaduna has its own. Port Harcourt has its own. They're all over. Enugu has its own. They're all over. Print hubs where people are doing design for a dime. I was told to go to Area 10. And I started to see people designing with their clients right beside them, telling them, no, change this, don't do this, you're working too slow. You say we're going to be done in 10 minutes. That was the first exposure I got. But thank God, I had the opportunity to travel to Canada. And the first thing that started to happen was the break of that mentality. They broke the ground and uprooted that seed. I went to a place where my lecturers told me, you are an awesome designer. And in my first year, they put me on a board to judge a design competition for the Niagara area. I was just a first year postgraduate student. And they put me on a board. I remember there was a guy that had a design studio, very well established design studio in Toronto. He came in, he was also on the board. And they were talking to me and said, Tola, what do you think? Do you think this work is good enough? Do you think this? And I was like, man, as a graphic designer, as a student, and for the first time I thought, Tola, the world is yours. This skill is important. You are sitting at the table with these people. They took out the seed. And I remember my lecturer telling me once, do you know how much you paid to be in this course? At that point, it was about $10,000 for my postgraduate program. This was 2005. $10,000 was a lot of money. So I knew how much was invested. I didn't thrive on free. I might have started on free. I started on free software, free this. But then when investment came in, I realized, whoa, some things have to change. Some things have to change. If you're a graphic designer listening to me today, you will never go far if you do not invest deep. Never go far, no matter how skilled or talented you are. Never go far. Do you know how much the tech bro invests in his skill? You see them make a lot of money, but they put the money back into a course, a training. Do you see them peddling around free stuff? They don't. That's the same thing with photography in Nigeria. At the point, there was a seed of point and shoot photography. It wasn't a big industry. Then you started having people come in and saying, photography, you need to get this lens, you need to get this, you need to get this, and tripod, get stuff, equipment, light boxes. When people started to invest deep, they started to earn more. They uprooted the seed. Photographers uprooted the impoverished seed. And that's why you see photographers today celebrated. You'll hear about Bayo Omoboriowo, about T.Y. Bello, about Tolani Ali. Who are these people? They're photographers. But they are photographers with a difference. With an uprooted seed. And now they are celebrated. The skill hasn't changed, but the mindset has changed. They changed the story of photography. Now people aspire to be photographers because they know that it can take them to where normal people cannot go. To Aso Rock. To a place of influence. It didn't start out like that. Some people uprooted the seed. They exposed themselves to something different. And by uprooting the seed, they changed the fruit. We need to change the narrative in graphic design. Can improve your skill from now till tomorrow. If you don't change your mindset about investing in your skill, you will never grow. Never grow. You will never profit. You will never be a tech bro. Never. My name is Tola T.A. Alabi, and this is the TA Podcast.